Hello and welcome. In this presentation, we will see how an IEEE volunteer can associate with IEEE for the conduct of IEEE conferences or other kinds of events. So the major association is a technical co-sponsorship or a financial co-sponsorship for the conduct of an international conference. So IEEE meetings, conferences, and events are giving indicative guidelines how to plan and proceed, and what are the procedures we have to follow in order to associate with IEEE on the conduct of conferences. So this document is directly from IEEE meetings, conferences, and events MCE, and they are providing a very good website to educate for all conference organizers. So this document will explain what are the timelines and guidelines to be followed at the pre-conference and during the conduct of conference and post-conference. So I will quickly go through the important highlights that is required to understand how to conduct a IEEE conference with all the procedures that IEEE is advising. So let us go through this document. So this document says the pre-conference uh, activities, right? So these pre-conference activities. So we will explain this first. So at least 24 plus months, means 2 years before, you have to uh, make sure whether you wanted to conduct a conference or not. So your organization might decide upon on which topic and subtopics basically you wanted to conduct a conference, and then to get an association with IEEE. Right? So the you have to get an sponsorship from the associating entities at least 24 months before. So this is an indicative guideline, right? And within this 24 to 18 months to the conference, right? So you have to register your conference, submit conference application, and approve MOU. This is very important. You have to obtain an MOU with your local IEEE organization unit. So if you are belonging to Kerala, for example, Kerala section is the local organization unit, and you have to contact the conference approval board uh, with an application to get an approval from IEEE Kerala section. And if you are conducting a conference on behalf of a society, so you have to contact the society leaderships. So for example, IEEE Computer Science Society, you have to contact IEEE Computer Science Society leadership and apply for an MOU. So this must be done before you apply the conference association with IEEE headquarters, right? So you have to prepare at least indicative kind of a budget and forecasting of the expenses, etc., before you apply for an association with IEEE. So this is important if you are planning for a financial co-sponsorship of IEEE. Then you have to contact the IEEE section where the conference will be held, right? You have to make sure the dates are not clashing, etc., etc., right? The venue, everything you have to give in the application where you are getting an MOU with the local IEEE organization unit, right? Then you have to submit the conference publication form, right? So conference publication form to obtain letter of acquisition, LOA. So the letter of acquisition has to be obtained from the IEEE headquarters, and this application you can do online. So first thing is get an approval, an MOU with your local organization unit, and then apply online and get a letter of acquisition. So this is required if you are planning to post the conference proceedings in IEEE Explore, right? So you need to obtain an ISBN number for your electronic submissions, as well as if you are going to print it physically, then there will be another ISBN related to print, right? So all the type of medias that you wanted to produce as the outcome of your conference, it must have an ISBN number related to that. So those things will be given in the LOA, letter of acquisition from IEEE, right? Then another important aspect is you have to register for copyright transfer, and this is done electronically. So you have to go to the website, corresponding website, and you have to register your conference so that all the authors can transfer the copyright to IEEE. If you wanted to see your paper in IEEE Explore, right, the copyright should be transferred to IEEE, and that can be done through electronically using ECF facility that is given by IEEE. And then another thing is a PDF Express website, where you wanted to make sure that all the PDFs that is being produced as an outcome of proceedings, that must be compatible to IEEE Explore, right? So a very versatile website, a PDF Express check. You can check all the PDFs, right, for the compatibility of IEEE Explore through the PDF Express. And these are all our free services for an approved IEEE conference, right? Then, so now you are heading towards 18 to 15 months of your conference. Then you have to do a lot of things for conduct of the conference, call for the papers, etc., right? Then 15 to 12 months, you are now heading towards the conference, 1 year, right? So call for papers, then establish a visa process for international attendees, right? So those things you can do. You can read all the details from this document, right? I'm just describing only important things, right? Then if it is a IEEE financially co-sponsored conference, you have to submit the conference budget with IEEE organization unit for the approval from headquarters, right? Then you are heading towards near to conference now. So create the website for paper submissions, right? So this can be done through many conference management systems like EC Chair, EDAS, or Microsoft's CMT. Right? These are three popular conference management systems which are rich enough with a lot of features. So your work will be very much reduced if you depend on these type of services. Right? So those things you can do, and then plan in detail all the social activities. Those things, if you are doing it in a physical format, right? Then registration site you have to launch. right? So this registration site also, you have to make sure that the authors can easily pay uh, their registration fee. So all the electronic kind of payments must be enabled to this website. Then 6 to 4 months, you can complete the paper review process, right? This is very important because uh, review process will take a lot of time. So you want to make sure at least 4 months before the conference, you have to complete the review process. At least 2 to 3 reviews must be there for each paper, so that the author will be convinced why his paper has been accepted or rejected from the conference, right? So there must be a detailed review given to the each of the authors, right? So this can be easily done through the conference management systems, right? So then you publish the advanced program, etc., right? Then another important thing is you can have an association with IEEE for conference proceedings production, right? So IEEE has a CPP program, so which will be charging for production of conference proceedings, right? Or the conference management systems that I have just mentioned, they also offer these type of services. For an IEEE conference, they can easily produce PDFs which are compatible with IEEE Explore, and they can give you the proceedings, and that might be also charged, right? Or you can, if you have more volunteers, you can take up that responsibility and you can do it manually, and you can produce your proceedings, right? So the rest of the things basically for conference things, registration, etc., logistics, etc. Then you are holding the conference, right? And post conference, what are the activities that is to be done during the post conference, right? So after finish of your conference, within 1 month, you should make sure that the conference proceedings and all the contents that is required for IEEE Explore must be submitted, right? So submit all proceedings and associated contents to Explore before expiry of 1 month. So this will enable you to get published your proceedings on time, right? IEEE will take a little bit of time to make sure the quality in terms of the papers that has been submitted, as well as the compatibility of PDFs that is being produced. This will be thoroughly checked by a team from IEEE, and if there are some problems, right, it will be get rejected, right? So make sure that there is no plagiarism in the papers, as well as all the PDFs that you have produced past the PDF Express check, right? So after that, maybe if it is a financially co-sponsored conference, you have to distribute the surplus, if any, right? And accounts must be closed, right? And then IEEE will have an audit within 4 to 5 months of time, depending on what is the surplus amount that we have generated from the conference, right? So if it is more than $250,000 US dollars, then directly IEEE will audit your account, and finally you have to settle that. So in this video, we have seen what are the procedures we have to follow pre-conference, during the conference, and post-conference, right? So I will describe how we can apply through online for a conference in another video. So thank you. Hello. In this video, we will see how an IEEE volunteer can submit a conference approval application from IEEE headquarters. So this procedure is done online. So as I explained in an earlier video, you have to obtain an MOU from the local IEEE organization unit before you apply the conference approval from IEEE headquarters. Right? So the website for the application process is IEEE.org conferences/organizers/conf-app.html. So this is the website or the page where you have to start uh, applying for a conference, right? So you can see here conferences, you can see here the conference application, right? You can click there. So you will be showing the application form, right? So IEEE conference application. And you can see I want to start a new application. So you can press here. So now you can see that have you already obtained sponsorship for your conference, right? So this conference sponsorship is basically from the local IEEE unit. If you belong to Kerala, so IEEE Kerala section will be the organization unit from where you have to obtain the sponsorship or the MOU, right? So the sponsorship could be of two types. One is a technical co-sponsorship, where the organization unit will not have any financial commitments. The other way to associate is with a financial co-sponsorship. So where the entities will have financial obligations, right? So I have obtained the MOU from the local unit, so I can say yes. Now it will ask so there are 7 steps, right? I will not go through all the steps, but important things maybe we'll see on the way. So you can give the submitter information first. So I will give my name and details. So if you are a conference organizing committee member and an IEEE volunteer, you can give the IEEE member number here, and you can give your business email ID here. You can select the work. If you want to add more, so I can add the personal email ID. Personal email ID. So phone number, it's not mandatory. You can skip that. So if you say next, it will ask for conference name, right? So you can write the conference name. The acronym for the conference. Then event type is conference. You can see there are different varieties of events IEEE supports. And conference URL, if the site is ready, definitely you can give the URL here. And start date and end date of your conference is already fixed, so you can give that. And the keywords you have to give according to the themes and sub-themes that you have selected for your conference. The keywords you can give. You can give some couple of keywords, because this will index and this will be helping you to identify the over the globe authors or prospective authors can identify your conference just by checking with keywords in some search engines, right? So IEEE will help you out to locate exactly locate your conference if you give more number of keywords which is associated with your conference. So for time being, I'm just giving two. You are advised to give more number of keywords. Scope, also you can write what is the scope of this conference. You can give little bit details. Then in which area basically fields of interest, maybe you can multiple interest you can select, right? Then the number of conference attendees, and if there is exhibits, you can click here. So physical conferences, you can click exhibits, or virtually if there are booths, right, arranged, you can click there. And if there are tutorials, you can click here, right? So is it a virtual conference or not, right? So you can say whether it is a virtual or not, right? So I say currently no. If it is happening in your country, you have to give the country, and city also you can give the city. And membership bar student grants. So if you are promoting IEEE membership during your event, definitely every responsible IEEE member has to promote IEEE membership and encourage non-IEEE members to join IEEE, right? Then society memberships. Suppose you are associating with a society like IEEE Computer Society, you can also promote the membership, right? If some grants are given to the students, then you can state that thing. You say next, right? So now the step 3 about the location. You can give the venue, right? So country is for time being this is India, right? So I can give my university. There are the details you can give, right? So add venue contact. So somebody has to be contacted. So for time being, I'm giving my own name. So I'm giving name. So now you have to give your phone number here. Save contact. Some of the field. It's asking for a valid some problem with let me give I don't know what is it. Let's see. So okay, so it will go to the next page. Right. So here the conference sponsors, right? You can give the conference sponsor name. So if it is so Kerala section, you can give Kerala section. Right. So the financial share, if it is a technically co-sponsored conference, you can give 0%, and unlisted sponsor, your organization is one of the. So this the signatory of the conference. So you can give the authority's name here who will be signing, and the financial share is 100%. Right. So 100% you give. So usually for a technically co-sponsored sponsorship conference, the OU, IEEE OU will be having no financial liability. So the share will be 0 for the sponsoring entity of IEEE, and who is conducting the conference will be having the 100%. And you can add more sponsors, right? If your organization is associating with any external agencies, you can add that, and you can here, right? So who wants the conference name? Cochin University. Then you can describe conference committee responsibilities, right? So all the details must be given here, right? So there are a lot of questions here. You can read and judiciously write the answers for all these questions. So without this, you cannot proceed the next, right? So next, I think the step 5 will be technical program. What is the kind of technical program, and the committee list will be asked there. Then finally, it will ask the conference contacts. So here, in step 5, you have to give publication chair and event chair details there. At least TPC member, TPC chair, publication chair, you have to mandatorily give there, because to publish IEEE proceedings in IEEE Explore, the publication chair has a responsibility, so you have to give that there, right? So for time being, let me just check whether I can go forward without giving you details. So let us see whether I go forward. Yes. So step 5 is a technical program. So technical program information that you have to provide will be included in the MOU, right? So will this conference produce a conference publication? Yes, right? IEEE has the copyright? Yes. Will you request publication of your conference proceedings in IEEE Expo? Yes, right? So this, then what is the structure of technical program committee? So you can give the TPC chair, right? The TPC chair name and the member, right? Etc. You can give there. Whether what materials are being reviewed. It's basically the full paper, right? Full paper will be. And what is the kind of a review? Be blind or double blind or other? you can say blind, right? So double blind means you have to remove the affiliation from the paper before sending the reviewer, right? So that reviewer doesn't know from which institution and or who is actually who has submitted this paper. So those information will not be available to the reviewer, right? And who has reviewed the author's paper. That information should not be given to the author, right? So this is basically called blind or double blind kind of process, right? Double blind will be a little bit difficult, but if you follow the stringent rules, then you can go for double blind. Usually, people will go for blind. Right? So, what is the estimated number of submitted papers? Right? You can say somewhere around 400 papers, depending on your previous experience or depending on the kind of themes that you have selected for your themes, right? And what is the targeted acceptance rate? So usually this will be somewhere around the 30% of the submitted papers, right? So how many named reviewers will be there? This is very important because if you are receiving 400 papers, right? So how many reviewers will be there? At least for one paper there must be 2 reviewers, right? And at least one reviewer should get maybe at least 2 or 3 papers. You should not flood with papers so that the reviewer will get burdened, right? So at least 2 or 3, maximum 3 papers per reviewer you can calculate, and you can tell the number, how many reviewers actually you are planning for your conference. It must be justified with your number of papers, expected papers that is to be received for your conference, right? So how many reviewers will be there for each paper? So this must be at least 2, right? And criteria, you can say you will be evaluating each paper based on its novelty, clarity, then language, etc., etc. So based on that, you will be evaluating the. So as I told you, the conference management system will have a versatile interfaces to enable this for ease, right? So are you using student reviewers? Definitely you should say no, because most of the conferences, or if it is a very big conference, a pre-scanning can be done through students with the help of students. Students in the sense, especially the research scholars, right? Or postdoc students, you can review that. This is just for filtering, the first filtering, because you have received a huge number of papers, maybe 400, 500 papers, right? So it will take time to give it separately for each reviewers, and it will take time. So it will be easy. You can filter it. First, you do a plagiarism check through the tool cross-check given by IEEE. That is also a free service. You can do that, and most of the papers you can see the percentage of similarity, right? And judiciously you can delete or reject many papers from there, that point. And then you do a review using your students, and again filter down, and then you give it to the reviewers, right? So that will make the process easy, right? So this is also very important. How will you ensure that all accepted papers will be presented, right? So there is a mandate statement that all the accepted papers must be presented by at least one author, one of the author, registered author. Then only we will be proceeding, sending this paper to the IEEE export. So this message must be given while you are communicating with the author, right? So in that way, you can make sure that only presented papers will be posted to IEEE Explore for possible inclusion, right? Otherwise, you can mark it as a no-show paper, no-show paper, right? So these dates you can give what is the abstract submission date, full paper submission date, etc., etc. Right? So notification of acceptance. This is very important. So since my uh, conference was in August, at least 2 months before, I must be able to give the notification. And final submission must be at least 1 month before, because you wanted to make sure all the uh, maybe, corrections, everything is done by the author, right? So next, if you say next, uh, the final thing, you have to give conference contacts, right? So I can say all submitted by me itself, right? So you can see here, contact is the conference chair, right? Then conference treasurer or publication chair, etc. You can, and you have to add additional details of one more person, right? One more person you have to add as a publication chair, right? So that information you have to give here. And finally, you can submit it, right? So this is the procedure where we can, an IEEE volunteer can submit an application for association of a conference with IEEE. I hope you understood many of the procedures, right? So I wish you all the best in your future processing of application with IEEE. Thank you.